to be practical insights of recent developments in Form 9, and another would be GST compliance walkthrough with practical case studies. We both have learned speaker today. Both are in-house speakers, our core committee member also. I would request Jawad bhai to briefly introduce both the speakers.
Thank you, Pratik, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to introduce our first speaker of the session, CA Bijal Doshi, our O1 core group member. She is a commerce graduate from NM College. She is a CA, passed out in 2012. She is also a company secretary, currently pursuing LLB. She is a fellow member of ICI. She is in practice since 2013. Her area of practice is audit and taxation with indirect taxation as core practice. She is our core committee member of BCSE. She has taken lectures on taxation matters at BCSE, BCAS study group, and women's wing of CP study circle of BCSE, study group of acquaintance and fellowship, Western India Regional Council, Goods and Service Tax Association of Maharashtra. She has acted as a group leader at residential refresher course and taken lecture on discussion on practical issues in GST, paper discussion on classification under GST at BCAS, paper discussion on real estate at Confederation of GST Professional and Industries for year 2022. With this brief introduction, I request CA Pratik Maru to present contribution to CABF. Thank you very much. Now I request speaker to take charge of the session.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for first to BCSC for providing this opportunity to sharing my views on 99C, considering the amendments we have during the year, which are some of the most awaited amendments which are supposed to come in 2024, but finally they are out, and it will be very helpful for us to reduce the assessment, the notice, the minor notice which we are receiving for mismatch, the notices which we are supposed to prepare endless reconciliation day in, day out. So thank you to BCSC for this opportunity. And to all of you all present today, even though we have tax audit due dates, you all are present here. So thank you for your presence as well. So to start with, just a general question to you all. Is there anyone who have still not seen 99C in past 7 years? Okay, so all of you have done. So it's easy for me. I can quickly take you through tables. So first, you all are aware that we have annual return, which is mandatory, and it is available only once we file our monthly returns, that is GSTR 1 and 3B. So once we complete those returns filing, then we are liable to file GSTR 9 only when our annual turnover, aggregate turnover exceeds 2 CR. So what I have done, I have taken some basics, and then we will go to the amendments specifically applicable from this financial year. Next, we have GSTR 9C. So again, it is applicable. The same limit of 5 CR is continuing for this year as well. After filing GSTR 9, your type 4 9C will activated. This year, again, the due date is 31st December as it stands today. There might be extension, but we are not sure as on date. But the amendments by the notification 13/2025, we have around 43 amendments as far as GSTR 9 is concerned, and around 27 amendments, which are few minor amendments in GSTR 9C. So before we go further, we need to understand what is the definition of aggregate turnover. It's just a refreshing thing. We are not going in the law per se, but just whether while we calculate the turnover for our client, we need to take into consideration certain aspects. So what will be the part of aggregate turnover? So what it will include? It includes your taxable supplies, exports, SEZ, as well as exempt supply. And definition of exempt supply, it includes nil rated, exempted by notification, as well as non-taxable supply. What we need to exclude is the taxes itself, along with the RCM transaction, so the inward supply. Apart from it, purchases, wherever we are paying any RCM, we need to exclude. And Schedule 3 transaction, because Schedule 3 is defined as transaction which are neither supply of goods nor services. So though they are transactions, but it won't be part of our aggregate turnover. The important thing to note here is this calculation will be pan-India basis. So you have to consider not for one branch or one location, but pan-level transaction. To understand this in better way, we have certain examples. So this question is for you all. So we have a company called A Limited, who is operating at various locations, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Goa, with turnover as 1.9, 0.5, and 0.8. So what is your view? GSTR 9 is applicable? If yes, it will be required to be filed by which location? Yes. Sorry? To all locations. Okay, since it's exiting, 2 CR overall. Same we have again A Limited, where we again have 3 branches. So in this case, 9 is applicable. Whether what about 9C? So the location, say Goa branch, where I have hardly 0.10, so it's 10 lakhs turnover. Do I still need to file GST or 9C both? Yeah, thoda josh mein bolo. Okay, I hope I'm going with the right speed. So third, we have only one company located at Mumbai, and they are having transactions, B2B supply, B2C, exports, high sea sales, as well as warehouse goods supply. So will your view change? 99C applicable? First, so we seek what is GSTR 9 will be applicable or not. Sorry? I'm not able to. Anyone, if you can just raise hand and give the reason why applicable or why not applicable. Yes? If you won't reply, I won't go ahead. So please share your views, whatever it is. We are all here to learn. So what is your view? 9 applicable, yes or no? I can hear few yes. So yes, with reason, please. Sorry? More than 2 crore. So sir, what you are considering for turnover? If you can just specify B2B, B2C, export, high seas. So out of this 5 items, what are you considering for turnover purpose? Yes, but sir, here we have B2B, B2C, export. There is no exempted. So high seas is not exempted. Sir, my B2B, B2C, and exports, so it's 1.7 CR. Yeah, so I'm coming, how you are taking high seas. So if we go to definition, which we just saw, so high seas will be part of, you are considering high seas as exempt supply? Achha, so your view is high seas exempt supply. Okay, we'll park it here. Anyone with the same view or different view? Yes, please. Right. So it won't be form part of turnover in your view. Yes, so absolutely right. So in this case, though the turnover is more than 10, 11, 12 CR, but on GSTR 9 won't be applicable, so as 9C. So taking this basic definition of aggregate turnover, the intention was just to highlight that we have many transactions when it comes to our books of accounts, but certain transactions will not form part of turnover. Certain transactions, for example, supply of warehouse goods, they are not part of turnover, but for as far as the reversal is concerned, under section 17(2)(3), you are liable to reverse on certain transactions. Okay. So, as already discussed that before filing 99C, we have to, yes? No, sir, the same is also part of Schedule 3. It is just to be considered for the purpose of reversal, Section 17, 2 and 3. To that extent, you have to consider, but when it comes to aggregate turnover definition, you don't have to consider it. Now, if you go, again the same thing that there are mandatory completion, so you need to complete the returns, whether it's monthly or quarterly before starting your 99C, because that option itself won't be activated unless and until you file all the 12 returns. If anything is pending, you still have time, complete that before starting with 99C. Apart from that, there are certain tables, the key tables, which we say as 4, 5, 6, and 8, where the data, few data are getting auto-populated. So it's important to understand how the data is coming from, where the data is flowing, and how we need to process that data and filing 99C in such a way to avoid or to minimize the notices which we are receiving, because majority of notices are coming based on your annual return. So we have to see that we file the annual return in such a way with all the reconciliations, even considering the spillover effect, to avoid or to minimize the notices. Apart from that, in this year, we have key amendments in this T table, that is 6, 7, and 8, which are ITC, which is heart of GST. So there are certain amendments which are positive, welcome amendment, but again, one need to consider how you are welcoming that change in a positive way by following the instructions given in the form. So as you are aware, every year we have certain notifications. So I have just listed down certain list of notifications which issued by the department every year by giving exemption to the small taxpayer. So if its turnover is less than 2 CR, then based on this notification, you are exempted from filing GSTR 99C. Followed by notifications which are issued by government every year to bring certain minor or maybe major amendments. Like this, for this year, we have 13 by 2025, whereby all the amendments in 9 and 9C were notified. Also this year we have around 24 FAQs issued in the month of October 25, where they have clarified the impact of recent amendment which they have done through this notification. So before going to the form per se, I just want to highlight certain amendments for this year. So one is where they have come up with the amendment is regarding the claim and reclaim of the ITC. Regarding the carry forward of the ITC on the import of goods. Also, there is some change in the late fees liability in Form 9C, as well as they have emphasized that the reconciliation should be done in such a way that your forms should itself show the spillover effect, instead of we as a professional keep providing reconciliation, because it's difficult for us. Like every one of us have different way of preparing reconciliation, and officers have different way of understanding the same. And of course, during our practice, we interact with different type of officers. Our working may or may not remain same. So if we have the form, if we fill it in a standardized way and some reconciliation in standard way, that will help in easy understanding. So this is again a basic that our form GSTR 9 is divided into 5 parts. First is the basic information, followed by the outward, inward, tax liability, and other miscellaneous information. What we'll do, we'll go through each form one by one with each table, and we'll understand what are the amendments. If there are no changes, then we may quickly go to the next slide. So first, again, it's a basic auto-populated site, so there is no amendment. If your profile is properly updated, then this will be auto-populated in a proper manner. However, before proceeding further, one should take into consideration, we should at least go through the data which is available on the portal, because the same data is available with department. So before proceeding further, we should at least go through those data. So a suggestion is to download consolidated GSTR 1, 3B, 2B, table 8A, which is coming again in Excel form, followed by the credit ledgers, that is cash ledger, credit ledger, as well as e-liability ledger, which is also available on the portal. Apart from this, we also have tax comparison report on portal, which will help us in understanding whether we have filed GSTR 1 and 9 in line, or we have done some error, we can still rectify it. And still we have November 30th in hand, because whatever adjustment we have to do for last year, we still have time. October 3 is still hand. So the committee has put the session at the right time so that we are able to learn this, and we'll try to implement all these changes or amendments if required in this last return of October, which is due by 20th of November. Apart from that, when we start with any client's 99C, we need to take into account their previous year workings, because we have that spillover effect in current year, along with their filed copy, which is available on portal as well. So as we discussed, that we have to start with first two tables are pertaining to outward supply. So this is my understanding of outward supply, which I would like to put forth in front of you. So what is outward supply? In very simple language, the way we talk with our articles or team members is whatever is there on the credit side of the P&L. Very simple. In that, we have to add any sale of fixed asset. Those are transactions which are not covered by your P&L, but they are still part of supply definition. So we'll include sale of any fixed asset, any inter-branch transaction, because when we consolidate the reports, all this transaction gets net off. So your final P&L may not be having those transactions. So this we need to include. Apart from that, as far as services are concerned, advances are still liable to tax, even though you have not raised the invoice. So such advances we need to take into consideration, along with Schedule 1 and Schedule 3 transaction, which we just discussed a few minutes back. So how we will divide this total outward supply? So we mapped all this transaction, and then we'll put it in separate buckets. So what we'll do, we have three major buckets. One is taxable supply, exempt, and others. Under taxable supply, we can have B2B, B2C, export or SEZ with or without payment, and corresponding debit credit notes. For exempt, we have nil rated, so transaction for which the rate is given as 0. Notified exempted, so which are specifically notified by exemption notification, or non-taxable transaction. And the third bucket, which I actually use for my firm, that is no supply and out of supply. So what is no supply? Schedule 3 transaction. Very clear, they are transaction, but as far as GST is concerned, they are neither supply of goods or services. And last bucket is out of supply. Now what does this out of supply includes? So what we include in this? Dividend, foreign exchange gain or loss. All these transactions are sitting on credit side of my P&L, but they are not at all supply. So we use the term as out of supply because it's part of my financials. Once we do this bucketing of entire outward register, then before going to the specific table, we need to have certain instructions which are common, which are there in the law, but many a time we fill the form, but we somehow missed out to read the instruction given by the department. Before filling the form, we need to read those instructions. So this is instruction 2A, one of the very important instruction which will really help in reducing the notices for our clients. So in that instruction 2A, what they have specified that as far as whatever transaction you are showing, amounts you are disclosing in table 4, 5, 6, and 7. So basically outward tables as well as ITC tables, you have to report only those informations, those transactions pertaining to the financial year for which you are filing the return, and it should not report any of the previous year transaction until specifically required. So the yellow portion which I have highlighted, it is the amendment done from 24-25 onwards, which is very important. So what we can conclude is, if we have GSTR 9 of 24-25, then only invoices or transaction dated 24-25 only, not 23-24, not 25-26. So like TDS, we have 1 year plus 1 year minus. In GST, only 1 year. Okay. So one question is, will it be helpful in reducing the notices? So this question we'll take at the end once we actually go through the forms. I would like to know your views on that. Apart from these instructions in the form, we have certain press releases, guidance note by the institute, by WRIC, which we should keep as a base before filing these returns. So now we start with the first table, table 4, which is on outward supply. In this table, current year, we don't have any transaction. There is no major change apart from incorporating any amendments done by GSTR 1A. So 1A form was introduced during the year where they have told if you have to do any amendment to your GSTR 1 for the month, you can file GSTR 1A before filing GSTR 3B. I don't know how many of you have started implementing it because we usually do amendment in next month in GSTR 1 only just to avoid the duplicate. 1B file kar diya, 1AB file kar diya, to keep the record of both, it becomes difficult. But sometimes just to save the working capital, we might have to use this option for our clients. So here there is nothing new as far as concerned compared to last year. But just few points which I want to highlight, how we can check whether we are posting the data in this table is proper or not. For that, we have to take the consolidated GSTR1 again available on portal. From that, the specified table that is related to outward supply 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 14 and all. Along with it, as far as table 4G is concerned, which is regarding inward supply, RCM transaction, for that we have to give reference to 3B because there is no inward in GSTR1. So we'll go to 3B, table 3.1.d. This will act as a reference, just maybe a start point. Now, my next question is regarding RCM disclosure. So one question before you, that in A Limited discovered that they have not discharged RCM liability on legal services. Somehow that invoice was missed out during the year. And when they did their stat audit, they realized कि advocate का bill आया है, but RCM नहीं भरा है. Okay. So how the same will be disclosed in GSTR 9? So what is the view of the House? Yes. Sir, questions will keep coming, so please keep answering. Yes, anyone? You all are experts, come on, help me to get the answer. Sorry? Table 11? 10, 11, okay. Okay. Anyone, any other view? Yes? Okay. Yes, right. Any other view? Okay, then we'll move ahead. So, RCM liability is not paid. So there can be two situations. Either I will pay it before 30th of November, I still have time, we are well within time, and possible that we may not pay up to 30th November, so I'm trying to take on both the situation. So if I pay it before 30th of November, then how I will disclose, and if I pay afterwards, then how the disclosure will done. So one, as rightly said, we can disclose in table 4G and tax amount in table 10 as well as table 14. If I'm making payment, ma'am, I'm coming to your doubt, just a second. So if I'm making the payment up to 30th of November, means before going forward with my annual return, and I'm well within the time period because government themselves has given me time to do whatever correction I want to up to October return filed on or before 30th of November. So what I will do, I will file the return, say in October month, I will disclose that RCM liability, I will make the payment of taxes. So in such situation, we will show the taxable value in table 4G and the tax paid in table 10 and 14 as Sir rightly informed. And we can also claim ITC in table 13. But suppose I have not done that, other view will be that since I have paid tax in next year, I will show ITC and this entire RCM transaction in next year. And the second view which ma'am just told, that if you have not paid up to 30th of November, then you will add in table 4G and you will discharge your liability by disclosing in table 9. And whatever is there you have to pay by DRC 3. So ma'am, your payable column will match. So we need to take into consideration which situation we are following. But if you pay by DRC 3, then of course ITC claim will lost. So you need to take a decision well within time to take the benefit. See, if it's RCM say pertaining to rent a cab, I'm not going to get ITC. So it's fine if I pay by DRC 3. But here we have the case of legal services, ITC is eligible, then we should discharge in a way that we can claim ITC because ITC can be claimed only by 3B. There is no other way to claim ITC and posting it to our e-credit ledger. Here, the disclosure system which we are following, though there are certain different views, as I told, that you have to disclose in next year. But if we follow that view, then the issue will be that we will not follow the instruction which is given in the form, which says, as per instruction 2A, you have to disclose same year transaction in same year. So if I'll file 25-26 R9, and if I'll show this transaction in that year 4G, but transaction was pertaining to 24-25, so which will give incorrect effect. Now next we have again table 4, the remaining part, which is regarding the outward transaction, but credit note, debit note. Again, in this, there is no major amendment in this year, apart from that we have to incorporate whatever transactions we have done by GSTR 1A. Here the checkpoint will be, it should ideally match with your considered GSTR 1 return, as well as how will you check that whether my 4N, my taxable turnover, how I will check. So we have prepared that outward supply entire register. So there we had first leg as only taxable supply. So ideally my table 4N should match that transaction. And again, this is a mandatory report, a mandatory table, so we have to disclose all transaction in detail here. Next, we have table 5, which is outward supply, which is not part of taxable transaction. So here we have all other transactions, say export, ICZ. So again, there is no change in this table as on today, apart from again that 1A amendment. So basically, in outward side, we have only one amendment, that is whatever changes are done by filing GSTR 1A. Here again, I have given few checkpoints that we need to take into account this transaction by going through table 4B, 6, 8, where while filing GSTR 1, how many actually are disclosing exempt supply? Yes, anyone? We have table 8 in GSTR 1. So anyone disclosing exempt supply on monthly basis? No. So you should start because it's part of the return. So once you disclose there, your consolidated return will be having those amount. So of course, sometimes we don't have those information. Clients are still in that mindset, VAT ke hisab se data taxable ka de diya and it's done. But we need to incorporate this change that all these transactions are also liable for disclosure. Again, as far as table 5F is concerned, where we are disclosing schedule 3, that is non-supply, along with no supply transaction. Here, so high Cs will reflect here. It is part of my turnover, but it will be sitting in table 5F. For table 5D, as I told, exempt supply, since you have not disclosed in GSTR 1, while filing this form, please take into consideration your books of accounts, your financial statement, where exempt supply figures are given. Because when we do reconciliation in 9C, there will be mismatch. Apart from that, we are also uploading our financial statement along with form 9C. So your financial statement is showing something under other income. You have not disclosed in your 99C. It might lead to maybe some notices. So better to give correct disclosure here. So what will be my total 5N will look like? So as it is mentioned, 4N minus 5N minus 4G and all. So basically, it will be the total outward bucket which we have prepared at the start of the session. And we have to just remove the out of supply transactions. And then it will be somehow matching. Again, all these tables are mandatory. Two tables, 5D and 5E, we can club together because both as such liable to reversal. And as far as credit notes are concerned, for this type of transaction, they have allowed us to merge with the original amount. No need to show it separately because as such, it's of no use. It's not a taxable supply. So government don't want to cross-check your debit credit note transaction. Now what I have done is I have tried to map GSTR 1 with GSTR 9, 1 and 3B. How can you cross-check? Because our articles and our team members prepares 99C. So if you want to just do a cross-check whether the figures are coming properly or not. So this is one way. What we can do, we can just check the liability as per GSTR 1. We can remove the transaction pertaining to last year. So from where we look at last year liability figures will be last year table 1011. Because you have disclosed in last year, so you have that figures readily available with you. Just remove it and then the liability should match with your total output tax minus 4G. That is my RCM liability for this year. So this is how you can easily check the liability paid vis-a-vis GSTR 1 3B pertaining to this year only. Similarly, as far as RCM liability is concerned, for that again we can check consolidated 3B. And then we have to take, says RCM, we don't have any other details. So we can go back to our basic books of accounts, P&L. We can take out all the transaction on which RCM is payable. To the extent you have not paid, you have to remove that much amount that either the way we discussed few minutes back, either you will pay in this year or you will pay by DRC 3. So to that extent, you have to remove the amount and the net output will be the tax you are liable to pay under RCM. Apart from that, I have tried to map the GSTR 9 tables vis-a-vis GSTR 1 table. So I'm not going through in detail, but you can use this as a reference whenever you prepare 9-9C in future. So before we start with table 6 onwards, that is ITC table, first, the way we did that in outward buckets, now we have certain in inwards. So what is inward supply? So inward supply is whatever debit side of P&L, and in that we need to add other transaction, that is, wahan pe sale tha, so here it's purchase. Because fixed asset is a capital goods as defined under law, and we were supposed to take ITC on the same, so we need to add it back here. Again, same inter-branch transaction. Any advances which we have paid, suppose advocate ko you have paid on 2 lakh, you might have paid RCM. So 2 lakh is not sitting in my P&L, it is still advances to creditors. So I need to add while preparing my inward register. Along with that, schedule 1 and 3 transaction if any. So once we incorporate the total inward supply, we will bifurcate again in certain buckets. First is taxable supply, which is further divided into B2B, B2C, imports. Against export, we have imports here, SZ transactions, debit credit note, RCM, which was not there in outward, but we have RCM in inward, and certain B2B transaction on which we are not claiming tax. So those who have done practice in VAT era, we used to use a term RD but no ITC. So purchase from registered person, but we are not claiming ITC. For example, bank charges. We may not have given our number to the banker, so he is not showing ITC in our name, but it is still somehow debited in my P&L. So those transactions will be bucketed as a B2B no tax. Second bucket is exam supply, which is further divided same way, nil, notified and non-taxable. And last, again, schedule 3 and out of supply. So entire register will be bucketed into separate transactions, so it will help us in easy understanding. So now we're coming to table 6, which is ITC, where this year we have some major changes. So the highlighted one are the changes for the year. So they have introduced table 6A1 and 6A2. These two tables were introduced during the year from 24-25 onwards, where they are saying that ITC pertaining to preceding financial year, if you have claimed during the financial year, then you are supposed to remove it from table 6A. So our table 6A amount comes from GSTR 3B, table 4A to 5. I hope I'm not going fast. Okay, table 4A to 5. So the total, that is our gross ITC, which we use in general terms. So that gross ITC will come and sit here in table 6A, from which from this year onwards, you need to remove transaction pertaining to previous year, and apart from only those transactions which are reclaimed under Rule 37 or 37A. So what is Rule 37 and 37A? Anyone? Yes? 37 is against 180 days. Yes, okay. 37A. This one also newly introduced last few months back. Anyone? 37A. So 37A is pertaining to ITC where your vendor, your supplier has not filed the return. Aapko B2B mein dikh gaya, you have claimed the ITC, then somehow you came to know he filed R1 but not 3B. So we were ideally supposed to reverse this transaction, ITC on such transaction voluntarily. So this 37 and 37A, so such type of transaction, when you fill form 6A1 table, you don't have to take into consideration. We'll go through certain examples, so it will be easy to understand. Apart from that, table 6H, where earlier it was mentioned that, other than B above, but now they have changed form in such a way that we might have to show the same transaction twice, one in 6B and again in 6H. So this is again an amendment. Accordingly, table 6J, which every year up to last year we used to have some negative value in 6J because it was not able to reconcile in detail. Now from this year we could see it will be 0. So there is no difference. Getting notices based on that you have claimed something excess will get reduced from this year. Apart from that, table 6M, there is only a change in label. Whatever note was there in the instruction, they have modified the name of the table accordingly. So not much major change in that. Now what I have done is I have tried to put up the points, like when you fill the form, from where you need to take all these figures in the respective table. So to start with table 6A, as we discussed, it is total coming from GSTR 3B, table 4A 1 to 5, followed by table 6A1, which we need to put in. So what we will refer by putting these figures in this amount will be last year table 13, because last year you might have shown something I am carry forwarding to this year. So that same table we can use as a reference, and we can remove that amount of ITC from table 6A, which will give us table 6A2 as auto-populated based on the formula, followed by the same tables which we file every year, 6B, C, D, E, all the same transaction, and the reference coming from respective GSTR 3B, consolidated return you can take reference from, followed by import of services, ISD. Now when we come to table 6H, that is ITC reclaim, we have to refer GSTR 3B table D1. Before we put forward, how many of you are following circular 170 issued in 2022? Okay, anyone else? So I'll just give a brief of the circular. So it was issued by the department stating that whatever ITC is there in your GSTR 2B, you have to show that ITC, do temporary reversal which you don't want to claim, and that remaining amount is eligible ITC. Whatever you have reversed, you can reclaim subsequently. So this was a circular given. Since it was circular, I believe many might have followed, many might not have followed because circular is not binding on us. So we prefer, may not be following. So based on that, if you have followed that circular, then while putting figures in table 6H, you need to take into consideration how you have disclosed those transactions in GSTR 3B return, followed by certain auto-populated figure, and as discussed, 6J should be negative instead of nil. This is one of the checkpoint. Make sure your 6J table is 0. There should not be any value which may call for notice in future. And followed by this 6K and 6L, I believe they are now trans 1, trans 2 ITC, it's all done. It's been 7 years to GST now, so there might not be any transaction under this table. Followed by 6M, again ITC 1, 2, 3, it's very restricted, depend on the type of transaction you entered into. And this how we will be coming to table 6O, that is the gross ITC for the year. So again, table 6, entire table is mandatory. You have to give all the details. As far as capital goods is concerned, you have to give proper bifurcation. Inputs and input services, you may club and close it. But again, one point of caution is you need to see whatever disclosure you have made in previous year, how it will impact this year transaction, just to avoid any notices, because if you receive notice of 23-24, we might say that we have done in 24-25. So that documentation, reconciliation should be handily available at the time of assessment. Next, we have table 7, in which again, there is change, again, 2 newly inserted amendments, table 7A1 and 2. So based on, again, rule 37 and 37A. So up to last year, what was happening, we used to disclose any other reversal in table 7H. But from this year, they have inserted these 2 new tables, specifically asking us to provide the reversal details in 37 and 37A. This will also help you in filing next year return. So when we file next year table 61A, this table will be helpful to us. Apart from that, we have A2, that is in case of the banking companies. And here the checkpoints is you can use table 4B of GSTR 3B return, where we are showing reversal under 2 head. One is permanent reversal, that is 17.5, ineligible ITC. Rule 42-43, that is proportionate reversal. followed by some temporary reversal, those who are following circular 170. And in case if you feel any additional reversal is required, then accordingly you have to give details in 7H, so there will be an option to insert number of rows whereby you can give the details. So we'll start with one example to understand these tables, because I understand many of the faces I am seeing very blank or confused. So sir, we have many amendments, but when we actually start filing the returns, we will be able to understand how the figures are flowing, because it's ultimately GSTR 9 is nothing but arithmetic. We just have to match and map the figures and keep reconciliations to the extent possible with us. So to start with, I have an example. In case I have a GSTR 3B return for this financial year, whereby my total ITC is coming, say 30,000 rupees, total of table 4A5, of which around 10,000 I have claim of last year carry forward I have claimed in this year, followed by certain reclaimed, which I done reclaim under Rule 37, that is 180 days. I have reversed earlier, so I am reclaiming in this year of around 3,000. So that 10,000 is divided as reclaim any other, and balance is normal B2B ITC. So that 10,000 is 3 plus 2 plus 5. And now balance 20,000 ITC belongs to the same year only. So now the question before us is how to disclose this in table 6. So view of the house. Yes, anyone would like to give it a try? We can make this session interactive instead of like a webinar. So please. Yes, anyone? Okay. I don't know, you are not able to understand the question or the tables? No reply, okay. Okay, so next is, again I have one more sub-question, that how we will disclose if I have reclaimed and reversed in the same year. So there's two sub-questions for which I need some answer from the house, but let's start. So we have table 6A stating 30,000 as the gross ITC. So how we will disclose? So as we discussed that table 6A1, which is newly introduced, by this table we need to carve out somehow ITC pertaining to any preceding year. So that amount we need to reverse. But at the same time, instruction of table 6A1 says you should not include any reclaim you have done as far as Rule 37 and 37A is concerned. So whatever we have claimed last year, ITC of 10,000, of which around 3,000 was pertaining to Rule 37, so we need to remove that. Balance ITC we have to disclose as table 6A1, and once we reduced it, our ITC under table 6A2 will be auto-populated as 23,000. Now again, the normal ITC which we have claimed for the year, we have to give bifurcation as B2B, RCM, imports, everything. So table 6B to 6D will come as 20,000. And whatever you have not disclosed above in 6A1, as far as it was pertaining to Rule 37 and 37A, you have to disclose here in this table 6H. See, for this 37 and 37A, I believe 90% of people are not following this practically and voluntarily. Department audit comes, if they ask कि आपने नहीं पे किया 180 days में, you will say ठीक है कर देंगे, or you will end up paying interest. But I don't think so that anyone is practically checking whether I have made payment to my vendor in 180 days or not. If not, whether I have reversed or not, or I am liable to reverse or not. At the same time, what we do practically, 2A, 2B में दिख रहा है, IMS में दिख रहा है, I will claim ITC. We don't go back and check whether after my claiming ITC, whether my vendor has actually filed 3B or not. उसने 1 file करके मेरे को ITC दे दिया, उसने 3B file किया कि नहीं, we bother to check. Like no one is doing practically. So for 50% of the people, those who are not doing this table 6H not required. So you don't bother कि कहाँ से कहाँ पर disclose करेंगे, because it's not applicable in majority of the cases. This comes to table 7J, that is ITC for the year 24-25. So this is the disclosure which is required. So basically, total ITC was 30,000, but ITC which was pertaining to previous year, that we have removed. And now table 7J is giving us ITC of this year, which is comparable with this year 2B, which is coming in table 8. Anyone, any questions so far? आज crowd एकदम शांत है यार. Yes, please. So you have to check on the portal. You have to do search taxpayer, and then you will get know whether they have filed 3B or not. That show frequency, return filing frequency is coming. So then you have to take help from the softwares. Softwares are there which will help you to drag those reports from the portal. Understand, everyone is getting that many vendors, 50, 100, 500 also. So you have to take into consideration, ask the software person to import entire data based on all the GSTN along with the remark. And there are certain softwares which, while you import the data also, they will show. When after filing 3B return, if you import the details, say in 2B, 2A, they will show a column saying 3B not filed cases. So this will help you. Of course, this exercise may not be done on monthly basis, maybe half yearly or yearly basis, it can be done. Monthly, practically, this may not be possible for sure. Yeah. Yes, sir. But what instruction they have given that when you are reclaiming, so when you are claiming for the first time, that 6A1, they have given instruction, if you are reclaiming something pertaining to rule 37 and 37A, it is you are reclaiming, means you have already claimed earlier. You have reversed because you have not made payment in 180 days. So now you are reclaiming that ITC. So the reclaim ITC will be part of the year of claim. Yes, sir. So, sir, for 2B, our figures will be flowing from table 6 and not from table 7. We'll come to that, sir. Anyone, anything else? Okay. So we'll take ahead. So my second question was for 24-25, I have say ITC of around 6,000 which I have claimed, reverse as well as reclaim in the same year. Then will there be any change in disclosure? So again my 6A will same amount 30,000, 6A1 again same value, and 6A2 will auto-populated. However, while disclosing figures in 6B to 6G, I will include my first claim of 6,000 here, only first claim and not the second claim, because subsequent claim will be part of table 6H. Because when you are claiming, reversing and reclaiming in the same financial year, your same invoice is getting twice in while filing 3B, table 4A5. Because first you claim there, then you reverse in table 4B. That it is temporary reversal. When you reclaim, we don't have any reclaim column as far as return 3B is concerned. So again, we put in table 4A5 only. So that 4A5 is having same value twice. So one will show under table 6B because 6B will directly flow with your table 8B. Because IMS 2B may invoice is coming only once. So we need to bifurcate in such a way that only one time that value flows in table 8B. So here your 6H will be having the value. Again table 7, one reversal because 6,000 you have shown twice. One in table 6B, again in 6H. But you have claimed ITC only once, so that reversal is supposed to be disclosed in table 7. Depend on which rule you have reversed, like 37 is reversal then 7A, 37A reversal then 7B. Followed by same, the net amount will again match with 7J. And as the source doubt was there, so 8B, it will flow in table from table 6B, which is again 20,000. It's B2B ITC. It will match with IMS and 2B, so there is no issue of excess claim of ITC in that case. Okay. Okay, so I have taken one more example. Again, disclosure is coming. So say in 3B, I have ITC of 4A1 to 4A5, I have around 1100 ITC, certain pertaining to 23-24 and certain pertaining to 24-25. And again, I have reversed under 4B1, that is coming as permanent reversal 17.5, 42, 43, etc. And 4B2, that is temporary reversal. And my net claim for the year is 800. However, my claim for 24-25 is only rupees 650. So since you guys are not giving answer, I'm only giving answers here. So here, there can be two options as the views taken by many. that you disclose the reversal entirely under 6A1. So your 6A1 will be netted off the reversals as well. And second option, you just have to show the gross figures in table 6A1. Similarly, I have taken one more example. So suppose in the second example, we have excess reversal. So for last year, I have claim of only 100, but I am reversing 150. So last year, my ITC of last year is coming as a negative figure. So according to you, which option is better? At least I have given you two options. So please let me know which option is better and correct based on the instruction we just saw a few minutes back. Yes? 1 or 2? Instruction, same year ITC can be shown in same year at the end. So FY 24-25 ITC should be there in GSTR 9. ITC of last year should not be disclosed. So option 1, option 2. Yes? Anyone? Viral, please select the option. At least you answer, they are not answering me today. Option 1. Okay. How many with option 1? Okay, I'll change the question. Option 1, how many? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Option 2? No one. So you are not filing return rest. Okay, so correct answer is option 2. Because same year ITC to be disclosed in same year. So ultimately, my 7J should be only ITC which is flowing from FY 24-25. So the point of keep giving this two option was when we read the instruction, many times we get confused कि कहाँ पे कैसे adjust करें. But our ultimate aim is my 7J should be of current year only. So once you bifurcate your ITC register year-wise, or if you have details of 3B credit availment as invoice level, it will be very easy to understand which figure to be plotted where to get the correct figure. And as far as you're having correct figure here, chances of getting notices will be very less. Again, there will be a mismatch as far as ITC in table 9 is concerned because we have actually utilized 800 ITC. Vis-a-vis, we are showing available ITC in 7Js to the extent of 650. For this, our defenses instruction, which is given in the form, we have followed. So in case if you receive notice saying that you have to utilize 800, you are showing only 650. So 150 excess claim, now you pay with interest. So our defense is we are following the instruction given in the form. Accordingly, disclosure is done. So there is no excess reversal. So just to make it more in a simple way, so what we'll do, total ITC for the year, which we have claimed in 3B, we'll divide into two buckets related to previous year, like 23-24, and pertaining to current year. So again, for previous year, that might be possibility that I am claiming for the first time. I have not claimed in 23-24 at all. So I am claiming first time in 24-25. Possible I have already claimed and reversed in 23-24. Now I am reclaiming again two options under 37A and other than those cases. Today you always hear many times this 37A because that's what the amendment came for the year. So I have to keep saying that. Those who are not following may be ignored because 90% people are not following practically. So you should not worry about this. And second, if ITC is pertaining to FY 24-25, it can be claimed, reversed or reclaimed. So then we have three options. So if you are claiming for the first time of 23-24, it's part of my table 6A. I have to remove in 6A1 so that my 6A2 will give ITC of 24-25 only. Second option is I am reclaiming other than 37A. Again, it's sitting in my table 6A. Same impact I have to remove in my 6A1. Third, it is pertaining to 37A rule. For that, again, it's sitting in 6A. I don't have to remove by 6A1 as it will be part of table 6H as per instruction. As far as ITC concerned, 24-25, we have table 6A followed by table 6BH 7A or 7A1 where we need to see reversal. Again, for simplification, one more bifurcation I've given. So these two charts are just for the cross-check on how one should bifurcate their ITC. So you need to have ITC registered on invoice level. You have to divide transaction as B2B or ISD, basically B2B transaction, and RCM or import transaction where we are paying tax under reverse charge. B2B, again, you can divide further into 4 buckets, the way we just saw, where we can show it in table 6B. If it's eligible, you are claiming for the first time, it will go in 6B. If you have claimed, reversed and reclaimed, then it's 6B, 6H and 7. So ultimately, what example we saw, 6,000 plus 6,000 minus 6,000, net 6,000 I am claiming. Third, when you are claiming and reversing in 24-25, but your reclaim is going to 25-26. In that case, it's 6B and 7 of this year. However, 6H will be of next year and not 6A1 of next year, since it is reversed in next year. Then ineligible ITC. So whatever we are showing under 17.5, it will flow 6B ITC lena hai, reverse in table 7. Similarly, for RCM or exports, ITC is eligible, then we give bifurcation in table 6CDE, that is from unregistered person, from registered person, imports. So that way we give bifurcation. If the same is ineligible, then such bifurcation again needs to reverse in table 7. So this last 2 slides are just summarizing the entire discussion we had for table 6 and 7. So now just a basic illustration of, we already took example. So this I have taken as illustration saying that if there is only single ITC, one invoice, then how it will flow. So it will flow from your GSTR 3B to table 6B followed by 7A. Okay, so this is just an illustration which I have given. With paucity of time, you will get the PPT. I am taking the next slide now. Next is, I have tried to map 3B with R9, that if you have consolidated 3B in your hand, how can you map which table of R9 you need to take those figures from your 3B. So table 4A is regarding imports. It will sit in table 6E, 4A2 and 6F, 4A3, where we show both RCM, B2B and unregistered RCM. So 9394 RCM, we show in only table 1. However, we need to bifurcate when it comes to GSTR 9 table, followed by ISD disclosure, and again, table 4A5, that is our normal B2B transaction which we disclose every month. The same will sit in table 6B, where we give bifurcation as inputs, input services and capital goods, followed by table 4B1 and 4B2, again temporary and permanent reversal, and they will sit in table 7A to E. Now coming to another major change, that is table 8, that is, that as the heading says, only ITC related information, but we are getting notices based on this information only. So it's important to understand the changes in this table. So this year what they have done in amendments, in table 8B, it is mentioned as ITC as per table 6B above. Earlier it was 6B and 6H. So it's a major change, because now when we see 6,000, 6,000 minus 6,000, so if it pick up the figure from 6B plus 6H, it will be showing here 12,000. So they have rectified stating only 6B you have to pick. So whatever ITC claim once, the first claim will be coming. Your reclaim will not impact your reconciliation. So it's a positive change. With this, at least our 8D will not go negative, and we won't be getting notices just because 8D is showing negative, means you have claimed something excess. So that notices will get reduced based on this amendment in this table. Again, there is one additional table at 8H1. So what was happening that we are paying IGST on imports, which we disclose here in table G, 8G, and then it happens that I have paid in this year, I may not be claiming ITC in the same year. Possible I missed out. I have paid, but I have missed out to claim ITC on that specific bill of entries, and I'll claim in subsequent year. So what was happening when we used to put some amount like paid on import, so that paid amount is coming from my books of accounts. So say I have paid 100 rupees, but I have just claimed 80 rupees. So what is happening, that 20 difference was going somehow in lapse of ITC. What we used to do, we used to modify both as 80-80, kuch lapse nahi karna hai. So now, by giving this table 8H1, that 20 which we have carry forward, we can put it here and saying there is no lapse. So again, it's additional disclosure, but somehow it's a beneficial and it's a welcome change. Next, as far as 8C is concerned, they have specifically mentioned that when you put figures in 8C, do not include any reclaim figure. So for reclaim, we have to remember only one table, that is 6. Come on, table 6. Yaar, aaj members are on silent mode, seriously. 6H, yes. So for reclaim, we have only one table, 6H. Okay, so as far as 8C is concerned, we don't have to show figure here, because if we show, your 8D might turn into negative. Because it's already there. Once you have claimed, it's there in table 6. Table 6 is coming to table 8B. Again, if you show something here, it will turn your 8D into negative. So as per the instruction and the FAQ they have issued, you don't have to disclose this figure here. You may disclose in table 13. Okay. Now, here, what points we need to take into consideration? So they have issued FAQs, around 24 FAQs, few of which are only for table 8 specifically, because they want us to understand how we can reduce notices. So table 8A, it's auto-populated, all of us are aware. What they have told, that it will include all the invoices of 24-25, which are part of 2B of 24-25 as well as part of 2B of 25-26. So in case you are following with your vendor, he is like, I'll file it afterwards, and he filed in the month of October, being the last month. So that invoice ITC will also reflect here, and accordingly you are claiming or you are carry forwarding, but you will be able to give correct, appropriate action. However, it will exclude 23-24. So what was happening up to last year, since table 8B is coming from 2B, 2B is not real-time basis, so it used to include all the transaction of 23-24 as well. So as per this year instruction, they will remove 23-24. So your 8A will be only of 24-25, 8B, which is 6B, again only 24-25. So it's very easy to compare, and it will reduce n number of notices which we used to receive based on this table. So this is what I have explained. But 8C will become somehow table 6A1 of next year. So your 2-year return will somehow help you in reconciling. Ye year ka carry forward will be this year ka brought forward. The way we usually do in banking thing, the same is going to happen in GST returns. Yes. Yeah, we are coming to that FAQ. So 8D, ideally it should be nil. So if I have 100, I have claimed 80, 20 carry forward, it's 0. Chances there might be some ITC invoices which doesn't belong to you. It might be there in 8D. Possible some ineligible, आपने book ही नहीं किया कि book भी नहीं करना है, claim भी नहीं करना है. So those transactions will still be part of 8D, which further you need to disclose in table 8E and 8F, which says as available but not availed, or it was ineligible, so you have not availed. So this bifurcation if you give, you have proper reconciliation of entire table 8. Now table 8 is always becoming a question कि ये table आ कहाँ से रहा है. Some amount are coming in table 8A Excel which we download, and the 8A which auto-populated in GSTR 9. So many times we found that there are variation in both the values, as sir just raised the question. So for that, department this time came up with certain FAQs. So first FAQ which they have told, which I want to highlight, is that there is mismatch in 8A Excel as downloaded from GSTR 9 dashboard vis-a-vis 8A auto-populated, because हम download कर लेते हैं, उस पर हम रिको भी बना लेते हैं. When we start filing R9, we see वहाँ पे 8A कुछ अलग ही दिख रहा है. Then we thinking ये दोनों में difference क्या है. So for that, actually they also came to know our issue, so they have clarified this here. after 7 years. So it will be difference because RCM or amendments, because 8A will be having only B2B transactions, because आप 6B से compare कर रहे हो ना. So 8A and 8B, to make them comparable, it's only having B2B transaction. But your Excel, it will be having RCM transaction also. RCM amend किया होगा, वो भी Excel में रहेगा, only for information. But it's not part of the 8A which is coming on the portal, followed by invoice which are amended in subsequent year, जो सिर्फ Excel में ही दिखेगा आपको. It will reflect only proper figure. So possible, one of the possibility is, I have an invoice which is of 100 rupees ITC. I told client कि इसमें तो 120 ITC था. He will amend. So in my table 8A Excel, there will be 100 in B2B and 120 in B2BA amendment table. So हम लोग क्या करते हैं ना, पूरा दोनों merge करके total करते हैं. But my 8A auto populated will only having 120 which is updated up to 30th of November. So this will be one of the variation possible between Excel vis-a-vis your auto-populated figure, or all the transactions pertaining to purely 1 year only, as and when it's get amended in GST returns by your vendor, your supplier, it will be updated up to 30th of November. So we have only 20 days, 22 days to follow up. कुछ अगर नहीं दिख रहा है, get it done. So at least it will reflect in your 8A. You can show it as carry forward in your 8C. So we have even issue where मेरा 2A में reflect हो रहा है, 2B में reflect नहीं हो रहा है. We have in 2A, it's not in IMS, so I'm not able to take in 2B. So this is technical glitch. If you are sure, then you can claim, but you have to be ready with screenshot. It's reflecting, so I'm claiming. Along with whatever condition of section 16 for claiming ITC, invoice, payment, you have to keep that file ready. Because in छोटा मोटा amount we can छोड़ सकते हैं. Where its amount are coming to lakhs of rupees, we cannot just leave that ITC. So we need to prepare documentation for that purpose. Next is regarding, they have given clarification on table 8C as we discussed. Again the same, whatever you are claiming for the first time. So in case any ITC which you are claiming in, going to claim in 25-26 for the first time, to that extent only you have to disclose here. Reclaim will not be allowed, else it will have impact on your next year GST return as well. Apart from this, for import of goods, the way we discussed, there is additional requirement where now we won't be losing any claim on import of goods, no ITC will lapse, and we are able to show the correct figure of what we have paid and we have claimed or carry forward. Now I have given this three-way reconciliation of how we can cross-check ITC, my 3B ITC vis-a-vis 2B ITC vis-a-vis my books of accounts, because we keep making reconciliation and there is some, if two lag is matching somehow, one we have some other mismatch. So this is ITC cross-check I have prepared. You can refer it. It's in very simple language I have prepared for easy understanding. Now we have table 9. So as ma'am already told that we have certain amendments in table 9. So this year we have two new columns inserted. That is column 8 and column 9. So what table, column 8 says, it will totalize whatever you have paid by cash or ITC. So as you are aware, column 2, that is tax payable, is editable. You can edit. It will auto-populate, but it's editable. You can edit and change or modify the values. But paid through cash, paid through ITC, auto-populated and block. We cannot do anything. So what used to happen? We used to manually check payable is matching with my ITC plus cash. So they have reduced our work. They told, हम बना के देंगे आपने कितना पे किया है. So they have added this total paid column, followed by the difference. So here, though they have given us this facility, how much you have paid, payable should be 0. If something is payable, you have to have DRC 3 along with you. Otherwise, this new column is beneficial for them. Something payable, because till date there was no payable coming, so they were not able to even, they were not checking table 9. When you go for assessment, they are least concerned about table 9. कि वो तो match हो ही जाएगा. But this, once there is some amount is coming, is differential column, chances of getting notice even for this table 9, which they hardly used in last 7 years, it may come. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So basically what happened now, we used to edit tax payable, then we used to, all this rest are auto-populated. So we used to check कि minus होके जो आ रहा है वही मैंने भरा कि नहीं. That is coming now officially, but point of caution is you should pay. If it's reflecting 1,000 and if you are paying only 100, then there will be issue because there is no mapping and mapping is happening back end with them. So we need to check this. Ma'am, I'm coming to it. It's just next point. So as ma'am told, column 9, possible, positive or negative. Positive we discussed, DRC से भर देंगे and we'll close it or we'll check कि वो क्यों payable आ रहा है. We need to give some working to our client, so we'll keep checking. Second, negative. So negative is excess paid. All agree with this. Now, why excess paid? So we need to dig in कि excess क्यों pay हुआ. One reason. Last year का liability मैंने ये साल भरा. Table 4, 5, 6, 7 क्या बोल रहा है? Liability for 24, 25. ITC for 24, 25. So liability I have removed from my table 4, 5, 6, 7. So it is not part of my payable column. But मैंने 3B में तो pay किया. So it's part of ITC or cash which is non-editable. It is blocked. So it is the major chance. So how can you cross-check कि whatever negative is showing, it should be part of table 14 of last year. Last year के table 14 में आपने क्या दिखाया कि मैंने अगले साल के लिए कितना भरा है. So this amount ideally should match. So first checkpoint is excess paid should match with last year table 14. Okay. Next, possible आपने actually कुछ advance pay कर दिया होगा. Can you go by refund? Depend again on quantum, the reason for excess payment. Else we have option of excess tax paid ka refund. We have that refund application separately under 54. Again, important is to understand the reason for payment. Next important point is to check the negative liability ledger. So if you are aware, during 24-25, we have one facility which government gave us amendment in GSTR 3B, whereby R1 may we used to show negative, but 3B it was not allowing. From this year, we have that 3B negative figure disclosure is being allowed. So you need to even check somehow in one 3B return, there might be something negative of last 3B I have adjusted. And here it might not be picking up correctly. So this is also one point. So for positive and negative, I have given few checkpoints. There might be other reason. I'm just able to think of this, so I have put forth here. After this, again, one more important table, that is, already we have discussed so much on this table 10, 11, 12, 13. But in this table also, there are few minor amendments during the year, which are actually important to understand. So table 10, earlier it was supply or tax declared through amendments. Now they have added invoice and debit credit notes. So what amendment means, I am doing certain amendments in my GSTR 1. I have specific tables 9A, 9B, 9C. If I'll do amendments by that table, in next year, I can disclose in table 10. But from this year, they have also incorporated invoices and debit note amendments. So it's a positive change. 80% of us were already in that mindset and we were disclosing that way only. But abhi government ने वो confirm कर दिया कि उनका भी वही सोच है. Again, same goes with credit note. Now table 12 and 13, what word they have used is next financial year. So till that what was happening, they used to have the language in table 12, ITC of previous financial year. So when we go to department for assessment, they used to say previous year ना, मतलब 22-23 का आपने 23-24 में लिया, ये वो है ना, तो वो साल के R9 से मैच होना चाहिए. That is their mindset because they are not reading the heading of para 5 that particulars of transaction in financial year declared in next financial year within specified period. तो वो लोग वो heading कभी पढ़ते नहीं हैं. They read table 12 में क्या लिखा है ना, preceding financial year, तो आपका last year का R9 से match होगा. So they themselves were confused at which period. We are sure it's carry forward table, but they used to read it as brought forward table. So they always used to match with previous year. For them, previous year means last year against the year for which you are filing. So this is the language they have modified, but it will really help to explain the officers because they have mentioned next financial year, so it's a carry forward. Apart from this table 14, again like table 9, they have even here added the difference column. So table 14, always we used to say 10, 11 में जो दिखाया है 14 में पे करके 0 कर दिया है. Ideally table 14 used to be 0. This difference should be ideally 0, but if something is coming, again DRC 3 can trigger here as well. 8C, for showing any transaction in 8C, the transaction should be first part of your 8A. Okay, and 8C is other information, as I told, so it's isolated. It's not linked somehow with your books of accounts. As far as table 13 is concerned, it is what I have done in my books or what I have done in my 3B. So both are different. Here, when we see table 10 to 13, it discloses what adjustment I have done for this year in subsequent year. So possible your 8C and 13 may not match. For example, I have paid certain ITC on unregistered, like we just discussed legal services. It will be part of my 13 if I am paying within specified period. It won't be part of my 8C because वो B2B नहीं है. Right. So there are certain transactions where, and 90% of the time your 13 will be higher side. Okay. Or your 8C might be 13 minus 12. But ideally, mostly 13 will be on higher side only, or both will be equal. 13 will not go on lower side. Again, your table 14 difference, just take into consideration that DR, if ideally nil, if not, you have to say pay by DRC3. Next, again for this, they have came up with certain FAQs only specifically for table 12 and 13. So here, whatever we discussed, they have just clarified that 13 should include other than 37, 37A, that is only for the first, sorry, yes, sir. No, negative as in if it's credit note. So basically 8C you have to take into consideration 8A. If it's part of your 8A, say credit note hai, if it's part of your 8A, then if you are reversing in next year, then will be part of your 8C. So in that case, 8C will be taking negative as well. So here for reporting in 12 and 13, they have given certain instructions saying that 13 should include other than 37, 37A, and 13 of this year will become 6A1 of next year. So somehow whatever we are disclosing in this year, it's linked to subsequent year as well. So need to, with care you need to fill this form just to avoid any mismatch in next year brought forward values. Apart from this, just one simple thing which I want to close with, that whatever ITC you are claiming, if it's a thumb rule, like agar 37, 37A hai, only 6H. अगर वो नहीं है तो 6H will be nil. So those who are not following 6H 0, 37, 37A नहीं है, don't bother searching कि कहाँ पे आ रहा है, because this term is going to come up many times here and even in 9C. So those who are not following, we are very happy people. We don't have to bother about anything. Yes. Sir, it depends. See, follow नहीं करे, form incomplete नहीं होगा sir. Follow करना है as per law. आप फॉर्म छोड़ो, आप लॉ ही फॉलो नहीं कर रहे हो. फॉर्म तो ठीक है ना, फॉर्म गलत जाएगा तो पेनल्टी लगेगा, लॉ आप फॉलो नहीं कर रहे हो, उसका पेनल्टी ज्यादा है. सर फॉर्म में क्या बोला है ना कि अगर आपने ये रूल में किया है तो आप डिस्क्लोज करो. आप बोलोगे मैंने किया ही नहीं है तो आप डिस्क्लोज मत करोगे, चलेगा, पर आपने वो रूल फॉलो नहीं किया है, उसका पेनल्टी बड़ा है सर. सर फॉर्म में अभी तक in last 7-8 years, I have not seen any notice issued for incorrect disclosure. Late filing का fees लगता है, nothing for incorrect disclosure. But जब audit या assessment आएगा ना, तभी officer पूछेगा, give your annexure B जो वो लोग अभी use कर रहे हैं in SGST department, आपका ITC register दे दो, all the invoice along with date of payment. वहाँ पे दिखा more than 100 days, आप बोलोगे मैंने rule follow नहीं किया है, वो करवाएंगे आपसे. Again, table 15 and 16, we hardly put because tables are optional. Second, even if we want to, we are not able to because to collate the data, as you all know, we last moment we cannot collate data for all these details. At the same time, how to map all these details, total refund claims, sanction, rejected, pending, is difficult to call it unless and until we have the client's person who can help us with this. But it's good that we have, again, this year also is an optional table. Along with it, table 16, where we need to give details regarding the supplies received from composition taxpayers, deemed supply, or goods and approval. So these details will be available only from books of accounts. There is no cross-check available as far as 3B or R1 is concerned. One more welcome change is in table 17. There is no change in reporting as of now. But again, the table is mandatory. The way we have e-invoice, we have GSTR1 also, we have HSN mandatory. The same HSN we have to give here. Again, table 18 is optional. So now what is the welcome change here for table 17 is, every year we used to do table 17 how to fill. So what we used to do, we have to consolidate all the R1, table 12 of R1 and all the HSN we used to call it. So government understood our pain and they came up with one facility where we can download an Excel file. It will consolidate all your GSTR1 readily available with you as per HSN code. So this file is the new facility which we have. And last table is regarding late fees. हम लोग late file नहीं करते, तो we may not see the late fees table. सर वो तो रहेगा, पर एटलीस्ट आपके पास लिस्ट रेडी है. So this is the facility which they have came up. So one more option. So up to last year we had 3B, R1, 8A and all. So now we have this table 12. So yeah. Yes. सर पर वो तो अगर 9 से एप्लीकेबल है तो, जिसको नहीं है. So in those cases, sir, one plus thing is we have this table 12. We can map it very, and it is made from our GSTR1 only. So at least you have the total values. Total is available with you. Then based on the formula, you know the HSN code, you know the rate. हाँ, problem किसका होगा जिसका rate change during the year हुआ है. Like because अपने यहाँ पे क्या है ना, first date से rate change नहीं होता. 8th, 10th. So then for that month R1, you need to bifurcate the turnover with the rate. So what they will be giving, because I have just tried and tested for 1 or 2 cases, so I was able to get, but वहाँ पे एक ही rate था. So I was getting proper form. But yes, you have to try. And at least those जहाँ पे rate change हुआ है, you need to further bifurcate so that your liability should match. Because they are giving based on R1, which is पूरे month का. So you need to bifurcate. And the second plus point is this we are getting in Excel. And we all are Excel experts. Formula मार के करना है, for that 5 rupees or 10 rupees or 100 rupees mismatch, we can explain the officer. But at least somehow we will be saving time. Sir, you can make use of the softwares where software themselves will highlight कि यहाँ पे mismatch आ सकता है before you upload. Yes. So softwares are highlighting. So what they will do, once you upload your HSN, they will prepare an Excel, like you can export the Excel, and then they will highlight कि कहाँ पे आपका mismatch का error आ सकता है, because this error will pop up once you upload. तो JSON file upload होने के लिए we do so many things when we reach that level. फिर वापस उसको regenerate करना, it takes time. So when you have more transaction, I would suggest better to go for software, because they will highlight, before uploading they will highlight that these are the possible errors. This HSN wise total is not matching, because they are utilized in such a way that even for 1 paise or 1 rupee it will show error and we will get stuck there. And then searching that 1 rupee in that 500 line items, it's not practical. So in those cases, better to take help from software. Otherwise, after this facility, at least we have Excel with us, where we can, with the help of the formula, that round of formula, where even पैसे का भी difference ना लेकर आए, that way we have to adjust before generating JSON file, just to avoid any error while uploading. सर वो लोग ना अभी ITC और आउटवर्ड में ही पढ़े, वो लोग क्लासिफिकेशन में नहीं जा रहे हैं. They don't have time. Because you won't see any, hardly you will see, at least state के पास तो time नहीं है. Central is giving some time on classification. Otherwise they are busy with 9 reconciliation. The way we are busy with reconciling, no, वो लोग भी वही कर रहे हैं. So they are not getting time for all this. So probably after implementation from this year, their intention is to complete the assessment. जैसे R9 December में file हुआ, in 1 year better to complete, so that they can catch hold on those, the way you said classification है, non-registration है, delayed registration है. So that all they will be able to take time if they are coming out of this basic reconciliation, because right now notices are coming only for table 6, 8, RCM नहीं भरा, all those notices are coming more than legal notices basically. सर अभी वो लोग भी AI कर रहे हैं, हम लोग भी कर रहे हैं ना, तो आएगा. It will come. Because AI will able to catch easily, no? जैसे right now we were not concentrating on HSN so much. When they have made it mandatory in GSTR1, जब भी वहाँ पे हमको सिलेक्ट करना है तो वी रीड अच्छा क्लाइंट ये सप्लाई करता है, टिल दैट वी वर लाइक सॉफ्टवेयर में बना रहे हैं अपलोड कर रहा है. नाउ व्हेन इट्स गेटिंग मैप और इट्स शोइंग सम एरर वी अंडरस्टैंड कि HSN चेंज हुआ है. That we realize now when they have made it compulsory that you have to select from the drop. So that my co-speaker will take you through that. So those errors are there. So right now they are not coming with that type of notices. So classification aayega sir. I have half an hour, right? Okay. Okay, so we are done with GSTR 9. So one level is done. Anyone, any query or shall I? Yes, sir. So we have exact case study here only. So he will take you through that. We had that question. Yes. Anything else? Shall I take it ahead? Okay. So for GSTR 9C, so it is basically reconciliation statement. We are no more signing it. It is self-attested by the taxpayer itself. However, we need to file GSTR 9 before that 9C tab will open. So basically, it is a reconciliation between your financial statements vis-a-vis the annual return which we have just saw. Followed, but this year, as we discussed, because of GSTR 1A, there might come some errors. As far as if you're taking care of those while filing GSTR 9, 9C, there won't be such issues. Apart from that, this year, there's two new tables, 61A and 2, which will again split GSTR 9 ITC. So we need to see how it will reflect in GSTR 9C. So what are the amendments for this year? As we discussed, only 27 amendments. So those amendments, basically, few tables are still kept as optional. So the last year optional tables still continued for this year as well. One is table 5 clubbing, and much of the relief is table 14, that is expense level bifurcation. So how many still giving up to last year expense level bifurcation, though it was optional? Yes, okay, only 3-4 people, okay. Great, so we are maintaining data. Next, we have e-commerce related transactions. So there are separate disclosures which they have specified. So they have come up with a separate line item where we need to show such transaction from this year onwards. Some minor change in auto-populated formula. Big major change is the late fees. So up to last year, we were like 9 file कर देते हैं, 9C देख लेंगे, वैसे भी fees नहीं लग रहा है, notice नहीं आ रहा है. So there was a circular came 246 based on this, on that, this year late fees भरना पड़ेगा. New table is there. So have to file both together on time. One of it delayed, fees will be there. So indirectly now, late fees for 9, late fees for 9C. Both are not payable, but something is payable. So that we'll see subsequently. So we will coming. We have specific slide for it, so we'll come to it. I'm just giving overview. We'll take entire table. For So maybe he will be able to answer. No, because I have not implemented 1A for my clients. Because I believe 1 ही अच्छा है, वो एक ही कंसो करते हैं, ये 1A बीच में आ जाएगा, एक में हमने भरा, एक में नहीं भरा, कितना रिको रखेंगे? As such, we have n number of RICO. So I am personally not in favor of 1A as of now. Unless and until some working capital is getting blocked, I am not in favor of 1A as of now. So maybe he will be able to answer in subsequent session. Okay, so basically 9C, again, the basic details, turnover of, like gross turnover reconciliation followed by net turnover reconciliation, subsequently ITC reconciliation and additional liabilities which we never want to pay. So first, basic table, again, no amendments, everything is auto-populated. As far as your profile is showing correct name as on date, the same will be auto-populated here. Again, we have certain prerequisite, the way we had for GSTR 9. First, we need to have copy of whatever GSTR 9 we have filed for this year, because certain figures are flowing from that form. So once you file GSTR 9, keep that copy handy which will help you in filing 9C, followed by financial statements because we need it for reconciliation, as well as we have to upload the same. Audit reports, again the same is supposed to be uploaded under other reports. And we need to arrange from the client previous year computation as well as the filed form of last year, which will help us in reconciling current year figures. So next we have table 5 for the reconciliation of gross turnover. There is no major change, but one thing we need to keep in mind that we need to have documentation ready, like how our turnover is flowing in table 5A, the starting point. Because it says turnover as per the audited financial statements. So we need to take into account in case maturity in the case of consolidation where we have or maybe one company having multiple branches or multiple GST number registered. Because your financial is one, but your 990 as we saw, each branch is liable. So we need to have that branch level trial balance. Accordingly, we can put up the figure under table 5A. Again, here we have two views. One view is saying whatever is there in audited financial statement as signed, consolidated, that should be a starting point. And whatever different branch ka, you reduce under any other deductions. One view is branch level audited trial balance. Branch level audited trial balance may not be available with all the clients, but at least as attested by the management, which confirm and which reconcile with the audited financial. So accordingly, you can put up the based on the details available with you. So this point need to take into consideration. Again, we have certain details to be given, say unbilled revenue, unadjusted advances, financial credit note. So all these details we need to supposed to be reduced from the total amount. What will happen now, while filing 990, we'll put up the figures, whatever given by the client or given by the team. But in case of assessment comes, we are supposed to give all this invoice level bifurcation. Because if it's unbilled today, it will be a billed in next year. If it's some unadjusted advances today, next year you might be adjusting those. So all this will have impact in your subsequent financial year, as well as last year unadjusted and unbilled we are adjusting in this year. So better it's advisable to keep a transaction level breakup. Apart from that, as we saw that we have option to consolidate and show only in table 5O, kuch bhi nahi mila to usme dal do balancing figure. But when it comes to assessment, you need to give bifurcation of what all you have included in those transactions. Though it's showing here plus minus both, so हम क्या करते हैं ना, total plus minus करके adjust करके यहाँ पे डाल देते हैं to match. There is no unreconciled should come. That's the mindset. But whatever figure you put up, you are answerable for that because we are signing. The client is signing. The expert is signing this. So you are supposed to have that 5O bifurcation. So we suggest to the extent possible, if you have bifurcation, though it's optional, it's better to give bifurcation for each transaction, because when we put anything in 5O as such, we are going to have reconciliation with us. So better to disclose in correct table. Unbilled hai to unbilled mein dikhao. Why to show in others? Because when we put a big figure in others, chances of getting assessment notice is huge. Because when they are themselves giving you so many options, when you are not filling in that option, then you go for others. Though it's optional, but it's always advisable to put the figures under a correct head. Apart from that, table 5Q, it is taking figure from GSTR 9, table 5N plus 10 minus 11. The same it was the last year. So once you file that GSTR 9, take out the copy and just match that after all these figures, whether it's mapping or not. I know all of us are filing 9 together, sab ready karke upload karte hain. But sometime it might happen, after filing, some minor change might happen while filing. So you need to be rest assured that figures are matching. Otherwise, the balance issue will be there in reconciliation. Again, this 1A, those who have started implementing, if there is some change in place of supply, there will be impact on your tax liability. CS tha, then you have amended to IGST. What tax you have paid in 3B. And your liability might come, so that also you need to take into consideration before disclosing figure here. After that, table 6 is simple. It's coming with the reason for unreconciled. I know we are not having unreconciled, we reconcile everything, but still there are chances that there might be some unreconciled amount will come. So I have just listed down certain probable chances which possible that this can be the reason. For example, cutoff timing, your books is showing something else. You have not taken into consideration. Advances are not according in the books, but that might be reflecting on your GSTR 9, because in 9, we are paying tax on advances. But the same might not be taken into consideration while preparing the table above. Along with the place of supply or debit credit note financial shown in books this year, not part of annual return in next year. So all these points, so I've just given the probable reason which you can go through. It's just few of the reason, it's not all the reason, it is just few which I can think of. But as I understand, how many of you are actually giving unreconciled 9C? Practically, how many are keeping unreconciled turnover? Okay, great. Anyone else? So we have only one member. Great. Even if you have, you need to have reasons, but we have not seen much who are keeping unreconciled. Usually we'll try to reconcile with appropriate reason. So that was the reason. For table 7, that is after doing the gross reconciliation, now we are into the taxable turnover reconciliation. In this table, we have one more line item which sir was asking regarding the e-commerce operator disclosure. So here we have separate line item which is added for e-commerce. So it's a minor change which is because of which there is a change in the formula. Nothing major reporting, but those who are into e-commerce line, they need to report. The supplier is liable to report it separately instead of showing it as reverse charge. So a separate line item is what required from this. So it is, they have tried to link it mainly with GSTR 1, because in R1 also we have separate tables for e-commerce. So accordingly here also we have to disclose the same. Here for documentation, for checklist, we have table 7F of GSTR. So this table will be mapping with 4N minus RCM of GSTR 9. So basically your table 4 will be the base to match this turnover with your financials. And whatever supply is shown under this tax, the value, that is 7B, which says value of exempted, nil and non-GST or no supply turnover. So this value you need to cross-check, because once we put any value here, the same is coming of course from 9 also. We need to check that we have done reversals as applicable, because exempt supply barring the interest we are liable to reverse under section 17(2) read with rule 42 and 43, along with the warehouse goods which we discussed in the beginning. So ITC is supposed to be reversed. So if you disclose some figure here, make sure that you have reversed, because if notice comes saying that you have such a huge amount of exemption in your turnover, so department mindset is we are not getting tax, so at least you should reverse ITC. So notice is bound to come. So we need to cross-check before disclosing here that we have reversed ITC proportionately. If not done, then do it by DRC 3. Again, probable few reasons where there is a shift of classification which we discussed, that CGST, SGST or the change on the rate slab, place of supply change or some R1 correction. So just few probable reason. There might be n number of reason depending on case to case, how you are maintaining your books of accounts and how the same are disclosed and returned. Next we have reconciliation rate wise. Again here only one minor bifurcation, K1 and K2. So basically again e-commerce are separated. So everywhere major changes in 9C this year is for the e-commerce operator. So they want to, one reason can be they want to understand what is the quantum of this e-commerce transaction. Because in 9 and 9C they are somehow trying to carve out e-commerce separately after doing amendments in GSTR 1 as well. Apart from this, one change here is, earlier it used to say table 9, total amount paid. Now that paid is become payable. So earlier what we used to do, whatever we have paid in R9, that paid we used to match with this, that all how the figure was coming up here. Now it's coming as payable. So it's somehow taking impact of whatever changes done in GSTR 9, table 9. So again a minor change, but we need to see there is no unreconciled. If we have something unreconciled, we need to have the reason. So the reason may be some wrong heading or wrong set of done, or 3B there might be some mismatch or the wrong rate of tax you have paid, or certain ITC pertaining to this TDS and TCS credit which you have claimed. So all these are few of the reason on utilization or set off part. So considering the reason, accordingly you need to give justification for this. I'm not taking much time on the reason because I know we all have unreconciled tables, so not to worry on that. Next, again, table 11, we have two changes. One, they have again want information as far as e-commerce is concerned. And second, one major change is you can make payment by cash or ITC. So up to last year, it was only by cash. There was no option to make payment by ITC. So this is the option. It's a welcome and positive change this year. So this option will actually help us in making the payment of even additional liability by way of ITC. So from where it came, so there is a change in instruction 8 of form GSTR 9C, where earlier it was mentioned that whatever liability you have by annual return or by your reconciliation statement, you are supposed to make payment in cash. Now they have modified it stating through electronic cash ledger or credit ledger. So in a way, again, it's very welcome change, because we know if we have outward liability, if we have ITC balance, why we can't make payments from cash? There was no barring in the law, but the form instruction was somehow going against law. Law is allowing you to use ITC, but form instruction was not allowing. So in assessment, officers were not accepting DRC3 if paid through ITC. So now it's a positive and welcome change. Next, we have table 12. As such, table 12, there is no amendment. But here, one question, what after introduction of table 6A1? What was happening? Table 12, what we used to do, the first table 12 was the ITC as per books. Opening ITC we used to add, and carry forward ITC we used to reduce to come to the amount of ITC claim for the year. Now and then that we used to map with 7J, that is ITC for the year. Now in that 7J, we have already removed, in table 6.1a, we have removed last year ITC. So now my 7J is not taking any ITC of last year. However, in this table 12B, it says ITC booked in earlier financial year claimed in current year. They are asking us to add back that amount. So will this disclosure have any impact? Or will this lead to unreconciled ITC? Any view of the house? Yes. So should we put any figure or we should keep it blank? If we kept it blank, as sir asked, penalty lag sakta hai kya? It's put for thought because we have already carved out that amount. Now, if I'll again add it here, it is not part of my R9 in any which ways. Then it will definitely lead to some unreconciled ITC. So when you come to table 12, just need to give a thought how to disclose, to what extent to disclose. If you are disclosing and if something is coming under unreconciled, then this can be one of the reasons for that. And again, I have listed down few reasons. It is possible that we have reversed certain ITC, but in books, we are expenses out. Instead of showing it separately, we will debit to the expense, or on assets case, we might claim the depreciation and all. So there might be some reason for such mismatch as far as ITC is concerned. Next, as we discussed, table 14, expense level bifurcation is optional. However, if possible, you should give, but if you feel the data are not available properly, then of course, it should be considered as optional. And again, it should be matched ideally with 7J of R9 to avoid any unreconciled differences. Again, it's reason, so for want of the time, you will get the PPT in detail, so I'm just running through. Next, table 16, again, there is no change. However, in this additional liability table, again the same change as cash or ITC, the same change which we saw earlier in table 11. Here also, if you have any liability, you can again make payment through cash or ITC. So somehow, instead of only cash giving this benefit, question was coming, what are the legal provision? Whether just because form allow us claiming ITC, is it valid or not? So we can take look into the statutory provision, that is section 49.4 and 49.7. So what is 49.4, which they have referred in the law as well. So what it says, that payment of the tax can be done by electronic credit ledger. So as far as you have balance in your credit ledger, you can utilize the same. So both this section 49.4 and 49.7 are pertaining to the payment of tax, how one should make the payment of tax, along with reading rule 85.3 and 86.2. So these rules are regarding whatever liability you have in your e-liability ledger that can be set off using the balance in e-credit ledger. So though there is no statutory backing, because this amendment came by way of the notification 13, and generally notification, unless bring any change in the rules or the act, you cannot just say that abhi se allowed hai to adjust. So we need to have some legal backing tomorrow if assessment comes, why we have taken this stand. So section 49 and rule 85 will help us there. Yes, yes. नहीं वो सब आपका ब्लैंक ही रहेगा. On portal it will come blank. Interest है won't be having a taxable value. Interest won't be having. So taxable value will automatically hide in case of interest, penalty and late fees. It has to be blank. It's of no. I have not seen because हम भरते ही नहीं है ना additional. I told ना we reconcile everything. We don't make any payment. जो भी भरना है 30th November तक भरना है. Why to have pay something here and call for the red flags in the department side ki आओ और check करो. So we try to reconcile. If something missed out, we have to pay. Then we have no choice for sure. That's why we are here 1 month before now. So we have this 20 days to work on this. Of course, after you get free from your tax audits on Monday. Okay. So now this regarding the late fees, as we discussed. So it is again the new amendment, and it's like an amendment came because of one circular. So there was a circular, read it as Jan 25 here, sorry, it's a mistake. So the circular 246, which came because what was happening, people were filing GSTR 9 and they were not filing 9C, stating ki as such there is no late fees applicable. So let us file 9 and we'll file 9C as and when it's feasible for us, but 9 file kar dete ki late fees na lage. And for 9C, there was always think that जब भी audit होता था, there might be penalty, but now it is self-certified, there is no question of penalty, so people were not filing. I don't know why it was so impactful, because generally we have seen if some additional liability is there, we used to pay with GSTR 9 only. We are not waiting for 9C. But government mindset that 9C is having so many tables, unreconciled reason, additional liability and everything. So they told कि भाई ये भी तो आपको time पे file करना है. So they came up with this circular 246, whereby they have told what is annual return. It will be completed once you file 9 plus 9C. If you missed out or a delay in filing any one of it, but we know 9C तो 9 के बिना जाएगा नहीं, that tab won't open. So it's basically their intention was if you are filing a 9C late, you have to pay late fees. Now how the late fees will be calculated? So what they told, if you are filing both together, then till the time you are filing 9, you have to pay late fees. So see आज 31st तक मैंने file नहीं किया है दोनों. If I file by 5th, तो 5 days I have to pay 9 late fees. But if you have filed 9 within 10, within 31st of December, but 9C you are filing at a later date, then from that date your late fees will start. So in a way they have added this late fees table. Of course we may not discuss because हम तो time पे file करते हैं. So we don't have to worry about 9C, this late fees, but of course we need to intimate to the client that abhi sirf 9 में नहीं 9C is also somehow we need to file on time. Many time it happens, reconciliation everything is ready, but uploading के लिए we don't have the data or the final confirmation from the client, because of which our 9C filing gets delayed. We don't have the copy of audit reports, the signed documents, the notes which we're supposed to upload with 9C. So it might get delayed by 2-3 days, and client is like, क्या फर्क पड़ेगा, nothing will come, इतने सालों में notice नहीं आया. But now it won't allow you to file. So you have to pay first and then only it will allow you to upload. Okay, so now I'll just run through. What I have done is just correlation of whatever tables in 9 and 9C. So which are mandatory, which are optional. So it's just a one slide as a reference for you, which you can use while filing return. Optional, it's hardly 3-4 now remaining optional, rest all are mandatory. So optionals are getting reduced day by day. So we have to give details. And one point to highlight is table 7A to 7G of GSTR 9. So now we have to give mandatory bifurcation. Pehle what used to happen, 7H other, please specify karke, we used to put up entire amount of reversal there. But now we were supposed to give details in all the table. So this year while filing 990, we need to work a little bit in detail to provide all the details out here. Apart from that, as I told in the beginning, we have around 24 FAQs for this year specifically. So what I have done, I have tried to map each FAQ with the respective table of 9 and 9C. Again, this slide is for reference, which you can use if you have any query for any specific FAQ, you can easily refer to it. Along with that, I have given the summary, so it will be handy. You don't have to go through this 12, 13 pages of FAQ in detail. So it's just that takeaway, so I'll skip this tables for the time being. Okay, now the reconciliation. So as we discussed that whatever happens, we need to keep all the reconciliation. So the listing I have given that we need to have turnover reconciliation, 1 with 3B reconciliation, ITC with 3B reconciliation. Vendor data reconciliation is important when we are implementing rule 37 and 37A, the reversals which we are doing, that we need to reconcile. Vendors who have not paid tax, that we need to reconcile. Along with the rule-based documentation, basically when we do reversal 37, 37A, 40, 42, so all those reversal that we need to have documentation and details in place. Apart from that, certain common errors like misreporting in ITC, the new fields which came, so where we were all were confused regarding table 6, 7, 8. So we need to understand and map it accordingly to reduce the liability or misreporting. The late fees, again, the date calculation which came up from this year, that we need to take into consideration. And a look into previous year documentation is must. We just cannot start this year working in isolation. We need to have to go through the history. We just cannot start for this year only. And just a conclusion saying that we need to have an early and accurate return with verifying all the auto-populated data. So how the data is coming in which table, from where it is flowing, from which monthly return it is flowing. So we should be aware of the same to give a better presentation. And we have to start it today so that we can comply by 31st of December. I think Q&A are already, we can take off the record, I'm available here. No, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bijal. If anyone has questions that can be asked offline, she would be available here. Next session is going to be taken by Viral Shah. So that is going to be, हम लोग ने GSTR 990 का तो देख लिया, बट अभी ये 20 दिनों में क्या करने वाले हैं ना, वो विरल बताने वाला है. टेक्निकली क्या discrepancies आ रही है, how you can figure it out. So that is going to be covered in next session by Viral Shah. I would request Jawad bhai to offer a hearty vote of thanks to Bijal.
Thank you, Pratik. Friends, everybody must be agree that Bijal has taken this GSTR 9 and 9C, all the tables of sales, inward, supply, outward, then ITC claims, and the mapping of 9 and 9C with all the 1, 3Bs and reconciliation part in very much detail. She has tried to cover in the shortest time all the possible points which she can cover. So now, on behalf of BCSC, I request everybody to give her the louder applause. And before that, I request Pratik to present her the memento as a token of love and affection from BCSC. Thank you very much. We take a short break for 15 minutes. I request to join everybody.